Party People, episode 18, baby. Who's that man? Cody Decker joining Will, Middlebrooks, and myself, Danny Vietti. The man, the myth. And I don't say man, myth, legend. A lot of people use that a little too often. This guy literally is the man, myth, legend. Like, I compare this man, okay, he had 11 seasons in the minors, played for the Mexican League. This guy did a cameo for NBC, State of Affairs, Cody?
Yes. I had a wonderful scene on the TV show State of Affairs. Only lasted one season, starring Katherine Heigl, but I did play a mall cop that got blowed up real good. If you want to see that clip, feel free to go to my my YouTube channel, Anti-Hero Baseball. You got to do some digging, but you'll find me. And it was basically at the time I was playing for the Padres organization, and I just told them, like, you're welcome. You finally get to watch me die, which you've been trying to kill me for the last 7 years.
Wait, which one were you? I'm trying to figure out.
On what? In the episode?
On Paul Blart.
Oh, I wasn't Paul Blart. I was a jacked Paul Blart in this particular episode of State of Affairs. I played a mall security cop. Let me put it this way. I was a classically trained Stanislavski stage actor growing up, and let's just say I knocked this bastard right out of the park.
I just want to say you have the best speaking voice, I think, on planet Earth.
It's natural.
You know what? It's weird because
this is literally how he talks on the baseball field. This isn't fake. For everyone listening, this isn't fake. Cody, just say, here we go, boys. 2 outs, 2 down. He does it in that voice on the field.
All the time. I did grow up in radio. So I grew up in Los Angeles, California. I was an avid listener of radio. It was always my dream to be in radio along with baseball and everything. Of course, my major dream my entire life was to be a big leaguer forever and make millions of dollars and be a big league manager and basically die at the age of 50 while managing a game. And that way I could be like, they could make shrines of me in whatever terrible city I was in. That was always my dream. My dream did not go exactly as according to plan, but I am from Los Angeles, California. I grew up in the mecca of radio in Los Angeles. It was just every network was a Hall of Fame radio guys. It was Mark and Brian and KLOS. Rick Dees was on Kiss FM. You had Howard Stern. You had Kevin and Bean. It was ridiculous. And when I was in high school, I was an avid caller in to the Mark and Brian show, to the point where they started having me on and started bringing me in. And I started becoming a part of the show. And I was 16 years old, 17 years old. They kept continuing that going on all the way through my time at UCLA. And I kind of was just rubbing shoulders with arguably the 2 best radio announcers of all time and just doing bits with them. So it was kind of awesome that I got to do that and cut my teeth in radio before I even started my professional baseball career. And yeah, this is literally my voice. This is how I talk all the time. It is not very pleasant at home. My wife,
I was gonna say, wifey must love that.
Oh God, she's like, oh my God, you ever turn it off? Shut up.
Like, I don't have an off button. Okay, I just
you knew what you got into.
Can you just give me like hey Brooks, let's go, baby. Here you go. Good AB. Give me something. I need to hear it in your voice.
Well, it depends on the situation. If Brooksy would say hitting right behind me, and I was saying, let's go, Brooks, let's do this, it means I just got out and I was mad at myself. So let's just say I struck out, chased the ball in the dirt. I'm in the dugout. I'll slam my helmet, punch it into the helmet rack. And I put my head down. I turn around and see Brooks walking in the box. I'm like, all right, Brooksy, you do something, baby. You got this.
Well, let me just correct this. Number one, I would be batting in front of Cody because he would be protecting me, trying to get me fastballs. All right. He's the one with over 200 minor league homers. Okay?
That's what I'm saying, dude. You're like a modern day Crash Davis. If Crash Davis
is Crash Davis Jewish?
No. Don't you dare interrupt me, Brooksy. If Crash Davis and the Dos Equis guy had a baby, it would be Cody Decker.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I got a lot of. Here's the thing about the Crash Davis comment. I don't have a problem with it. It's so funny. Like you mix it up with Twitter trolls all the time, and their first thing is, "Oh, Crash Davis has got an opinion." You mean the most wise and nuanced character of any sports movie ever made? Yeah, I'll take that. That's very accurate. I'll take my Crash Davis comparison. I did make it to the show. I got my 20 days. I got my one start.
You did. We were all watching too, because that's played together.
I was asking Brooksy. I was like, okay, you hit 200 plus homers. You weren't a high average guy. You hit tanks. Do you think nowadays, if you were back at 22 years old, say you're in the minors right now, you think you'd be getting a big league call up maybe sooner?
Maybe, a big portion of my career, you got to understand, there was a lot of turnover when I was with the Padres. I just more or less was kind of, I wouldn't say a victim. Victim is the wrong word, wrong connotation altogether. But I would say I I had really poor timing my first 7 years of my career. So I got drafted by the Kevin Towers group, and I had a monster year. I don't want to brag, but there was a guy in my league that was drafted the same year named Mike Trout. And guess who did not win that MVP? Suck it, Trout. You don't get that AZL MVP. It belonged to a 22-year-old senior sign. I don't care if you were 16 at the time. I will hold this over your head for the rest of my life. Would you like to see the MVP award? It's right here.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. It's right.
So what you're saying is Cody Decker is greater than Mike Trout, basically.
Back in 2009.
At that time.
At that one, for those 2 months, I was better than Mike Trout. It did not
that's a
last
cool story, though. That's a really cool story.
That's fact.
It's all I have.
It's fact.
Someone at CBS was showing me they were doing a comparison between Tatis and Trout, and they were looking at first 173 games. And I had one more homer than Trout did through 173.
Dan, I'm not gonna lie to you. Dan, do you know just how good Will was?
I do, because I had him on my. Believe it or not, this is kind of a fun story. I had Brooksy here before we became buddies. Here, he was actually on my fantasy team in high school.
Okay, so this is 100% true, and I've told people this all the time. Will Middlebrooks might be, and I'm not. And when I say might be, I might be a little bit. I'm trying to throw some nice, wonderful things to other people. Will Middlebrooks is without question the most talented baseball player I've ever been on the field with. He was maddening because he did everything perfect. He made it look easy. It was frustrating almost to watch him play because he did everything. He had power, he could run, he could move, he could defend, and he was just unbelievable. He was Will Middlebrooks, Andrew Benintendi, Will Middlebrooks, and like Yohan Moncada are the 3 most talented people I ever shared a field with, and it's not even close.
I'm not sure I deserve to be in that conversation, but I really appreciate that. Every time I think I've seen it like twice on Twitter, you said it, and it always makes my day. Just because.
Well, it's true. You were ridiculous.
That's really cool. I appreciate that.
The only pitfall I would ever say Will had, which is not even a pitfall, he was honestly just too smart. Like the worst thing I think a hitter could ever be is smart. Smart hitters. No. I'm telling you, he would always try to outsmart. He would outsmart the game like we all would try to do. Because if you're smart and you try to hit, you are not a smart hitter. The best hitters I've ever known are the dumbest human beings I've ever met in my life.
100%,
without question. So
C-ball, hit ball, caveman batting. That's
what I would give to be able to hit like that. But man, I could turn an 0 for 7 into an 0 for 21 real quick.
Me too, buddy. With a pulled hamstring. I led the league in injuries most years.
Well, now I know you're full of shit. Okay, you guys met San Diego. Is that am I correct in saying that? Okay.
Good old El Paso Chihuahuas.
Right there. That was the thing.
Oh yeah.
I want to get into pranks because that's what you're known for, right? When you're in the minor leagues, you are known for your pranks. You were known for producing them, putting them on YouTube, and of course, the biggest one of them all was the Jeff Francoeur prank.
Yeah.
What started and inspired the Jeff Francoeur prank? For people that don't know the Jeff Francoeur prank, Cody, correct me if I'm wrong, assembled this prank to convince Jeff Francoeur that Jorge Reyes, thank you, was deaf. And Jeff Francoeur somehow convinced Jeff Francoeur for what, a month?
1 month. It was the single easiest prank I have ever pulled off because Jeff Francoeur, who I love to death. And by the way, if you're watching him on Braves games, he is absolutely killing it as an analyst. He is so good, but
he's just so transparent and real, which a lot of guys aren't during games. And he is.
And he's honest, and I love it, and he's got a good voice for it. But the one thing about Jeff Francoeur that I wish he was doing during his broadcast, if he gave me the full, real Jeff Francoeur, because the real Jeff Francoeur is well-spoken, but more like smiling and just nodding at everything in his surround. He loves the peripheral at all times, and he's like, "Hey, man, it's a Coors Light poster. That's sweet." That is everything. Like he's overly impressed by the dumbest things. He'll walk by. Oh man, orange shoes. All right.
It's just him wanting to be nice to everyone.
Everyone. But I will say he's also responsible for the funniest thing I'd ever seen in a clubhouse, because at this point, Jeff Francoeur hadn't been in AAA for like 10 years. And I remember he grabbed a beer one night in the clubhouse, drank the whole thing down, and just looked at it, dropped it on the floor, looked at the beer bottle on the floor, and just looked at me. He's like, someone will get it. And he just walked out the room and left.
Someone will get it. It's a show.
That's such a big
league. Wait, it's not.
I'm like, hey, Jeff, we're in the 3A show league, man. You gotta pick that up.
And people forget, dude, Jeff Francoeur had one of the best arms I think I've ever seen.
So much so that we put him on the mound just for the hell of it. And he was sitting there touching 93. Guy hadn't pitched since high school. He's just another one of those guys who's just a freak athlete, just rolls out of bed and does things incredible. But Jeff Francoeur, if you know him personally, you know that he's a little bit of a space cadet, and it's really easy to convince him of anything. This was not even hard. And where it came from, now, Pat Murphy was my manager. Now, Will, you played for Pat, and I love Pat Murphy to death. Don't trust him, but I do love him. Now, I do think I've told him that many times. Pat, if I had in my phone and I was like being held up and I have two numbers and it's my biggest enemy or Pat Murphy, I'm going to call my biggest enemy because maybe I'll get saved. If I call Pat Murphy, there's nothing in it for him. There's no way he's saving me. So I'm just – I remember Pat Murphy – oh, I said it. You can call me later. So Murph was, Murph and I had already done the prank. We did it the year before. We did it to another player, but we didn't have somebody as high profile. But it was a prank we had done for multiple years. We did it more than once. So I remember I get this phone call from Murph. He's like, "Hey, we just signed Jeff Francoeur. He's going to be with us in El Paso." I'm like, "That's sweet. I can't wait to play with him. I've always wanted to meet Jeff Francoeur." He's like, "Hey, Cody, I really think he's primed for the deaf guy prank." What? He's like, "Cody, I just got off the phone with him for 20 minutes. I really think we could do this." And I'm like, "There's no
manifested."
Yeah. And I just looked at him like, "There's no way we can do this." He's like, "I really think we can. You're going to meet him today. Come to me later." Met him, shook his hand, goes through a whole thing. And he's just like, and then Murph already planted the seed. He nailed it. It was already set up for me. He walked up and he's like, "Man, yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, it's a competitive team. You're going to love it here. Great group of guys. I've been in AAA with the Padres at this point for a decade. So you're going to really like it. You'll get back to the big leagues before you know it. And it'll be great." Oh, and he just goes like, "Yeah, well, I heard we got a deaf guy." And I just looked at him. I'm like, "Yeah, we do.
We do."
Jorge Reyes, pitcher at Oregon State. And here's the thing. I gave him his full bio. He could have just Googled this very easily. You could have gone online and like put in Jorge Reyes, who's from Washington, played at Oregon State. You could see countless interviews with him talking to people, clearly hearing everyone. And Jeff didn't understand that this was the easiest prank in the world. We kept forgetting the prank was happening. Like, that's how long it was going on. And then he would do something absurd to remind us that it was taking place. So one that really comes to mind, it's in the movie. Yeah, no, even better. So we bring in Jorge Reyes in a big spot in Tacoma, the AAA affiliate for the Seattle Mariners. And Jorge comes in with bases loaded and nobody out, and we're only up by one. And, it's a big moment. He comes in, he strikes out the side, and we are going crazy, just ape shit in the dugout, all over him. And Frenchie, for no reason, was playing left field that day, and the dugout's on the first base side. So he didn't hear Jorge saying all the things to the guys back. And he gets in the dugout, and I'll never forget. He slams his glove at his feet, slaps him on the leg, and just immediately goes, "Great job. Way to go, buddy." And I was laughing. So I immediately my chest like incaved, like in my sternum was touching my actual heart. So I sprinted into the clubhouse and I started laughing, but I couldn't laugh, couldn't get anything out. I couldn't breathe. I was falling on the ground, but I wasn't alone because my pitching coach, Mike Cather, was already there losing his mind laughing. And that was after that game. I finally got called in the office, and Pat Murphy and Cather looks at me and he's like, "Cody, we have to stop this. This has been going on too long. We have to stop." I'm like, "Are you sure? Because I think this could last all season." And he's just like, "It seriously needs to stop." I said, okay, how are we going to do this? So we start workshopping ideas. And this is after a game, a big game in AAA. And instead of talking about the game, we're workshopping ideas and how we're going to break the news to Jeff Francoeur that Jorge Reyes is not hearing impaired. He's perfectly fine. He's right over there. And he's heard everything you've said for a month. Keep in mind, the night before that, Jorge Reyes went to dinner with Jeff Francoeur and his wife for 3 hours.
The commitment from Jorge is probably the most underrated aspect of this story.
Does Jorge speak good English or no?
Perfect English. He went to Oregon. He's from Washington.
Oh, that's right.
Like,
that's right.
He's from Seattle. Like he is
that was
perfect
typical
English.
like judging a book by the cover. Okay.
Yeah, no, he is as he's American as it gets. And it's so hilarious because Jorge wasn't doing anything. That's the most funny part. He just wasn't talking when a big group was around. Anytime he saw Jeff, he just zipped it. Didn't say a word. didn't pretend, didn't do an impression of anything. And just Jeff was just creating a world for himself that we just let him spin down a hill to the point where we finally, and now I will say Pat Murphy had the most hilarious idea on how we break this to him. I wanted to film it because at this point I started getting interviews with guys and, you know, what all the stupid things Jeff Francoeur has done in the last month. And then Murph had an idea that he wanted to get the ambulance involved and pretend that Jorge Reyes was hit in the head in the outfield during batting practice. And we wanted to all surround him and we talked to him and make sure he's okay. And then he could hear, we wanted Jeff to believe a miracle took place. We wanted him to be like, pretend he got hit in the head. And then we go over there and now, Jorge, are you okay? Yes, I am. I can hear you. And that was the plan. And we were all going to see how Jeff responded. Would he buy into this? Would he fall for this?
Yes.
But to me, I was like, he's just can't be that stupid.
You know how amazing it would have been if Tim Tebow was a part of your guys' team and just Tebow just like rubbed Reyes a little bit. All the time he could hear. That would have been epic.
That would have been something special. That would have been really, really, really good. But yeah, so that was the thing. So instead, I convinced Murph that we couldn't pull this off. Also, I was a little afraid that there might be legality issues with bringing in an actual ambulance for a non-medical issue. So I convinced him, hey, how about I finish this film? I'll edit it all night and we'll show it to Jeff tomorrow. And what we'll do is we'll say it's a video from Major League Baseball about some new rules and regulations about the sliding play. We'll say it's about the sliding play. And we put it on, we got the cameras everywhere, and just all the guys were so ecstatic to break the news to Jeff that Jorge is not hearing impaired, Jeff. He has been listening to you all month. And the best part was he as it was going, we're all laughing. He's like, is this for real? And he turned around, just say something out loud right now. And he just puts his head down, just looked up. I'm so sorry, Jeff. And he's like, oh my God, what? And the best part was Francoeur was the greatest sport of all. He bought us all steaks the next night. It was just, he's one of the best teammates I've ever had. You're never going to find a single guy that doesn't think Jeff Francoeur is one of the best guys they've ever shared a clubhouse with.
He could have had a handful more contracts if you guys just would have played it out longer. Like if this thing would have lasted 10 years, he could have just, because you said Murph was perfect candidate. I feel like they signed Jeff Francoeur to pull off this prank.
It feels that way a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you, but I, you know, he was the best. And playing for Murph, you know, Murph, if you know Pat Murphy and you played for Pat Murphy, you know what Pat Murphy can bring to a clubhouse. He allows a bit more than he probably should, but I will say he brings so much energy to that clubhouse, and he allows his players to bring a lot of energy to the clubhouse. And that's something I've always really appreciated about Murph and love about Murph.
100%.
He's one of those guys that can inspire the least inspired human being in the world. But if you get on his bad side, you're going to know about it.
Best, maybe not best, favorite prank that you've ever done that wasn't the Jeff Francoeur prank?
I don't know if, Will, you were here for this. I think you were up in the show for this one. This was in 2015 with the Padres. You were in the big leagues at the time. We had a video guy who broke dress code. And as Will actually mentioned before we started this, I used to wear very eccentric outfits on the road during the PCL games, but it was all based on something between me and Pat Murphy. We got into an argument in 2013 because he made a rule that simply said, all you have to do, leather shoes, collared shirt. I said, leather shoes, collared shirt? He said, yes. It's like, great. I got my collared shirts and I bought some leather PF flyers. He said that was the rule, leather shoes. And he's like, those aren't dress shoes. You didn't say dress shoes. It's in writing right here in the text. Leather shoes, and I'm wearing them, so we're good. I wore them for 3 months, and Murph got so fed up that I had outsmarted him that he forced me to take batting practice in them and destroy them on a rainy day. And I was so mad about it. I said, you really want to do this, Murph? He's like, yes, wear the dress code tomorrow. I said, okay. I happened to be in Sacramento. There was a place there that had attire that only, quite frankly, a stereotypical pimp from 1975 would ever wear. I went to this place. I spent $130 and I got about 8 different eccentric, colorful bow ties, ascots, gator shoes that were purple.
The ascots were my favorite, by the way.
Dude, I loved the ascots. You know why? Because they were comfy. Did you know that they're that comfortable?
I've never actually worn an ascot. No.
Will, you're missing out on true gold. You gotta invest in ascots.
This is my uniform nowadays.
Yeah, but
Tri-blend
eventually
t-shirt and sometimes shorts.
at some point, Will Middlebrooks, you're going to go to a black tie event. And what you're going to need is a black tie that happens to be an ascot. You know why? Because you don't feel it. You have an open shirt. It's like air conditioning. It's wonderful. Plus, you look like Thomas Howell III from Gilligan's Island. And who doesn't want to be that?
That's actually a great point. I don't know that I have that club in the bag to pull that off. You got the whole like Chris Kyle look going. I don't know if I'm more of a bland, boring suit and tie guy, but that's just me.
But you have more of the good looks. I have more of the rugged, hey, this guy looks like he might be fun.
This guy drinks Busch Light for sure.
Yeah, you either look at me as like, this guy's a party animal and drinks Bud Ice.
The fact that it happened in Sacramento makes a lot of sense. Where did you guys stay?
When we were in Sacramento, we stayed at the Holiday Inn downtown, right next to Old Town. That was the go-to.
It was right next to that little bitty hole in the wall casino.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
It was
was that? No, I think you're thinking of Fresno.
No, we played at that was the Piccadilly.
We stayed at the Piccadilly there too. There was also a time we stayed downtown.
You're right. You're right. Yes, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, right. And there was a casino right next door. And if you walked a little further, there's a really good breakfast spot.
It is. Yes, there's a great breakfast spot, but that casino is the saddest place on earth. You walk in, you just feel it just cover you in just, you're like, you can't be here long.
No. It's just it's secondhand smoke. It leads the league in secondhand smoke,
without question.
Okay.
But the prank that you said that I favorite, well, just so you have the background of all those eccentric outfits, we had a video guy that wore literally torn jeans and a tattered shirt on a road trip. Pat Murphy called him in the office and said made Jason Lane decide what his punishment is going to be. So Jason called me in the office and said, Deck, what do you think we should do to this guy? And I just looked at him like, don't like following dress code, huh? I think I should be allowed to dress him for an entire week, Murph. And he's like, what are you going to put him in? Don't worry about it. And he just goes, it seems like a reasonable thing. Cody, go get to work. Went to a costume shop. I must have bought him the most. One night he was a knight. The next night he was a grown baby.
So did he have to wear these in the stands while he was charting or like videoing?
He had to wear them all day. He had to be in the dugout before the game. He had to be on the line during while we were during the national anthem. I dressed him as so many ridiculous. One day I dressed him as Waldo, and I told him, "This is your goal for the day. You have to just show up in different sections of the stadium throughout the game so we can find you." And it was a blast. It turned out great. It happened for a whole week. I dressed him every day, and
he probably loved it. He probably loved it. After the first 2 days, he was probably like, "This is fun."
No, he left.
I do suggest you guys check that out. It is also on my YouTube channel if you want to see that one. I made a film about that as well. I believe I called it "Wear It."
See, Danny, you look at AAA, you're like, man, these guys are grinding. They're not making a lot of money. They're just trying to get to the show or back to the show. No, this is the shit that goes on. AAA is a land of make-believe.
Hey,
it is.
It's not all that different than college ball, really. Because you're constantly forced to be in the same room with each other so many days of the year. You know what I mean? Like college ball, we're on the same bus for so long. Minor league ball,
unless you were like going into like a nice Division I college, and it's way nicer than AAA.
Right.
Wait, I played in good and terrible AAA spots. I spent 9 years in AAA. I think I had a tour at every single PCL city at some point.
Hey, I saw a picture of you the other day in a Sea Dogs.
Yeah. So in 2016,
when were you there?
16. Okay. Yeah, I got released.
How long were you there?
Must have been a month and a half. I had a decent time. My average was way down, but I will say that was a very interesting year. It was 2016. I signed with the Royals. I was the last guy sent down, and it was a heartbreaker because, I just got my first call up the year before. I'm like, hey, I got a real shot to make the team.
I can do this, right?
Yeah. And I got told the morning of that I made the team. And I flew with the team to Kansas City. And I get to Kansas City and they let me know, hey, we don't want to make a move on the 40-man. So once your car's in the parking lot, why don't you go drive to Omaha, just get your batch. You'll be up soon. I'm like, okay, that sucks, but that we're good. I get there and they had a prospect that had to play first base. So I'm kind of iced out, didn't get to play. So they traded me to the Rockies because they felt bad. They felt like they made a mistake and, they sold me a bag of goods that just wasn't there. And I don't fault them for it. It's just how it kind of worked out. But I went to the Rockies and they just rented me because some guys were hurt. And once Daniel Descalso was healthy, I packed my bags and I thought, I'll be a free agent for 1 hour. Not a big deal. It was May 3rd. And on May 3rd, there are not a lot of easy jobs to come by at that exact moment. So I was at home for a month and almost a half until the Red Sox finally came calling and asked me if I'd be willing to go to AA. And after that many years in AAA and just being in the big leagues and just barely missing making the major league club, I obviously took the job. And my quote to them was, well, I can't get back to the big leagues from my couch. So yes, I would gladly go to AA. But the thing about it was a hell of a gut punch. I know AA is not a low league. You get to the big leagues from the AA just as much as you get to the big leagues from AAA. But there was something about it that was just like, man, I'm just taking steps backwards. But I was lucky enough to play for an organization that I loved as much as I did the Boston Red Sox. The two best organizations I say I played for, number one, the Diamondbacks, number two, the Red Sox, just quality people, really treat their players exceedingly well. And I at the time was going through, for the first time in my career, some real mental struggles. I was not handling it well. My teammates didn't know it because I was kind of put in a position where they wanted me to kind of mentor a lot of guys, but I would go home and I would just really, really struggle with this. So much so I was having so much anxiety just walking up to the batter's box. My hands would start to shake. And I'm like, why are my hands shaking? I can hit all these guys just fine like it's nothing. I ended up hitting, 19 home runs on the season with a lot of RBIs, but only allowed 300 at bats. But it was the first time I walked away from a season really feeling like I failed. It was really not a good place for me mentally. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I learned more about baseball. I learned more about myself than I ever did those previous few years. I think I needed that failure year. I think I needed to be a better teammate. In fact, I really think it helped me a lot.
That's awesome. I think it's really cool you pointed out that the two best organizations you played for were the Diamondbacks and the Red Sox, when a lot of the people that were with the Diamondbacks when you were over there all started with the Red Sox.
Yeah, it is 100% true.
Amiel, yeah, all those guys, like they started in the Red Sox system and worked their way up. So that makes a lot of sense. But as far as the mental stuff goes, man, that stuff is so real. I mean, we've seen the Drew Robinson story too. Like I played with PD and with Drew in Texas in 2017, and he was one of the most like happy-go-lucky, just goofy, very critical of himself, as we all are. But you just never know, man. So it's like love on your teammates, love on your friends. Like you just don't know.
Especially. And like Will, I'm sure you played with just as many guys that you dislike that you loved, but I still look back at even the guys I disagreed with and the guys that I maybe didn't get along with, and I truly do love them and care about them. If they ever needed anything, I honestly hope they would give me a call, because I would do anything I can to help them. No,
you were definitely that teammate. I mean, I think if I could go back, I would do things a little different. 2015. I was in like a bad place then, because I played 2 good years in Boston. I was hurt all 14, got traded over to San Diego, supposed to be like a restart button, played decent, was like second on the league in homers. They sent me down. I wasn't hitting well average wise. I was playing shit defense. Like I just wasn't playing well, and got sent down, and I did not want to be in AAA. In my mind, I'm like, I'm better than this. I shouldn't be here. But that's more disappointed in myself and this and that. And I never got called up again. And that was a real gut punch for me. And I was probably a shit teammate those 2 months that I was there, just because I wasn't in the moment. I wasn't where my feet were, and I just was not happy. So that's something I would definitely go back and be like, really not take things for granted. Cause I always thought like I'm going to play forever, and then, shallow fly ball and left, snap, crackle, pop. Here I am talking to you guys.
Well, I'll tell you, Will, I was your teammate during that time. Were you the same guy you were in spring training? Probably not, but it's more than understandable. You just got sent down. And honestly, I didn't think you deserved to be sent down. But that's just something where we're talking about being critical with ourselves. You were such a better teammate than you remember yourself being. You were going through such a hard time, personally, with that struggle, that I think you're just you were probably extra critical of yourself on how you thought you acted. But I thought you were a fantastic teammate. I loved having you around. I just hated for you that you had to be stuck in AAA with all the scrubs like me.
No, stop. This has turned into a therapy session. What's the next question? I'm going to cry, I think.
When did this become Jerry Springer,
Well, we can fight. We can start fighting if you like.
I was getting there. These guys were loving up on each other for so long.
You know what? Fine. We're allowed to cuss?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you, Will.
I deserve that, Cody.
That's what we need. Quick hitters for you, Cody. Quick hitters. Who's your favorite minor league teammate?
Ooh, that is a tough one. I have a list of 5 that was always interchangeable. John Baker is a guy that immediately comes to mind. John Baker is now the head of player development for the Pittsburgh Pirates now.
Mhm.
He was just an unbelievable teammate. Rocky Gale is just always
Rocky. Yes.
just always at the top of that list. I completely love Rocky. And I used to love to mess with, I used to act overly arrogant around Rocky just to see if I can get a rise out of him. And he never would fall. He would never bite. And it was my one failure. I always tried. And he's like, I know what you're doing. I said, what are you talking about? I'm always this asshole. He's like, shut up. And he would walk away. I'm going to get him. The other ones that come to mind, Nate Fryman is just, there's not a whole lot of guys you can sit around and, discuss the writings of Tolstoy with. So it's very,
he's like a genius, right? And he's like 7 feet tall.
Oh God, he's so tall. He's like a cell tower.
Duke? Was he a Duke guy?
Yeah, he's a Duke guy, and God, I love him. Nate Fryman, just what an amazing teammate. He's actually working for I believe the Indians organization. Other guys that come to mind, Josh Zide's up there, Blake Galen, Ty Kelly, they're up there. Jeff Francoeur is up there. I mean, I am very lucky that I got to play with some really amazing people and really great teammates, and a lot of guys that way more talented than me. So it's really, really, I'm a lucky guy, but based on what I've gotten to do.
Now you just named a couple Team Israel teammates.
I did. Ty Kelly, Blake Galen, those guys are way up there.
I saw Ty Kelly just hit he hit a grand slam the other day. Do you see that?
I did. I was
he
so
retired, and then the Mariners. So he's with Tacoma, I think. And I saw him hit his first homer as a grand slam the other day. He's such a good dude.
What a great guy. Player. Super funny. Literally just does one of those guys that just does everything right. Nothing's flashy. Yes. Nothing catches your eye until you really watch him play. And he's just a smart baseball player. And I can't get enough of that guy.
Yep.
You mentioned you grew up doing radio. You mentioned you grew up with some of the greats. What about nowadays? Who's some of your favorite radio guys on air right now?
I still listen to Howard Stern. I'm still an absolute Howard Stern mark. I can listen to that guy all day. Whenever I do a long road trip, I usually just pop on Howard Stern and I listen until I get to my destination. But the other guys that really immediately come to mind, Craig Carton. I'm a big fan of Craig Carton, both his work and personally. Other people that come to mind, I really like Dan Bernstein over in Chicago. I think he's a really good morning radio guy when it comes to sport and really good opinions with sports. There's a lot of people. I think right now, this last year and a half, a lot of people have had a chance to really shine in what they can do in the radio sphere and the podcast sphere. And I think other people are really starting to make serious names for themselves. You two immediately come to mind on, I see your guys' stuff on all the time. You see other companies like John Boy really, really making changes out there. And I think it's really great for the game. I think momentum, the stuff that they're getting out there with like guys like Eric Sim and Paige Halstead, I think that is really good stuff. I think anything that produces content that gets eyes on baseball in different fashions is just amazing.
For sure.
Yeah. And I love it. I think we're finally at that place where the curtain is finally being pulled back enough that people can really see how these athletes tick and what is actually going into it. Because what's fascinating in baseball right now is what we've learned in the last 5 years outweighs what we've learned in the previous 25 years. That's where this game is going. And I dig it. And people are seeing all the negative aspects of it. They're not really paying attention to the positives of it. And I really think that's a misstep.
You just passed the test. You just said me and Will are out there on the radar. So you basically just passed the test. That's
all we wanted. That's all we wanted. You said I was a good baseball player and that you liked our podcast. We can end this now.
Yeah. Let's
fucking go. We're good. Well, Dan, I'm really also lying. I'm just trying to get on your next list of important people to follow on baseball Twitter.
I get it.
It really hurt.
Wait, do I not follow you?
I know, but I didn't make the list. I didn't even get in the bracket play.
Oh, the brackets.
Oh, Danny.
I didn't make a YouTube bracket though.
Fair.
Hey, there's always next year.
Oh, thanks. Hey, God, that's awesome. You're like the Padres told me all the time.
We'll talk. We'll work on it. We'll talk. Okay. Brooksy, Cody, I got you guys mashed up here in a competition here. So this is what we like to call buy or bullshit. I'm going to give you each. We'll go one by one. I'm going to give you each a name of what could or could not be a analytic in baseball. Okay. You're going to have to tell me whether it is you buy it or it's bullshit. If it's a real stat or if it is a fake stat.
So it's not a number. It's like a name.
It is going to
Name
be
of
a
the
name.
stat.
For example, if I said war, you would want to be, if I asked Brooksy, is war
Bullshit.
a correct stat? And I'll give you the definition.
Like Vietnam or like.
Asshole.
Which war?
All right, we got it. We got it.
Okay, we'll start with our guest because I'm a good host and that's just what I do.
Mhm.
Buyer bullshit number 1. Weighted runs created plus. WRC plus. WRC plus takes the statistics.
You're starting them with that?
I mean, yes, real.
I'm starting easy. I'm gonna give you an easy one. Can I at least finish my definition?
Do you really need to?
It's real.
Just ask me about batting average now.
Fine. Ding,
All
ding,
right.
ding.
Wait,
Correct.
Will, runs batted in.
Man, I was so proud of this game.
All right, we're just getting started. We're just getting started.
Just
Go.
entertain me.
Come
with
on,
your-
come on.
All right, real. I
Give
got
it
one.
to
I got
me now.
one. I got one.
1 for 1. Brooksy, range runs, RNGR, real or not real? The number of runs above or below average a fielder is determined by how the fielder is able to get 2 balls hit in his vicinity.
So I'm going to get critical here. And if you're actually reading a definition, that means
All
you
of them
didn't
have
write.
All of them have a definition, for the record. They could be made up.
Yeah. I'm going to go bovine scatology on that one. Bullshit.
No, that is a real stat. Range
Oh.
runs.
We're starting easy, though, Cody. Jesus Christ.
I'm the guest, so he's giving me a leg up. I got a one.
He
one
loves
score
when
left.
I do shitty. He loves when I lose.
Somebody asked me on Twitter the other day, I said, what's your favorite thing about podcasting with Will Middlebrooks? And I said, I really love the friendship that we've created. Really good guy, good values, good family. And I thought about it.
Mhm.
I'm like, Andy tripped Alan Craig, so he's like an easy target for me.
He loves to shit on me on social media.
All he does is
Yeah.
golf.
Bro, I've golfed 3 days in the past 3 months.
I will say you do. I have noticed quite a few golf photos. I have a lot more
So-
golf photos than I'm getting golfing then.
3 times in 3 months. I just happened to post about it because I look good in golf attire.
I'll admit it's more daddy daycare than Happy Gilmore.
I will
Definitely.
say I've probably been golfing a lot more than you. I'm doing a lot of golf
You-
these days.
You better have.
Yeah.
Is there, wait, I don't want to interrupt Danny's game. He's proud of
Okay.
this.
So,
Go. Please give me another, or it's Cody's turn, actually. Go ahead.
Yeah, round 2. This one's for Cody. Expected movement, a StatCast metric that measures the projected movement of a particular pitch, taking into account factors such as weather.
Like wind?
but that'd be useless. Why would you need projected movement? Projected movement means you're guessing the movement before it happens. So I'm
They
gonna
have
say that's
projected
bullshit.
velocity, though.
You're right. They do. Okay. I'm gonna say it's bullshit though.
Perceived velocity.
Bullshit. There is no
Yes!
expected movement. He's 2 for 2.
You give him the easiest shit.
Wait a second. You just told you threw out the thing saying that there's projected velocity, but that
I was trying to even the game for the people.
Brooksy.
No one likes a blowout.
Okay, okay,
Meatball swing percentage, defined as the percentage a hitter swings at an easy pitch to hit thrown right down the middle of the plate.
I'm not Italian, but I'm gonna say bullshit.
0 for 2. That's a real
Me-
thing.
No
they
way, that
literally
can't be
call
a
it
real.
meatball.
Look on baseballsavant.com. You know, the
It's
analytical.
savant number 1. Can you fucking read? You're questioning my knowledge, and you just said baseball savant.
Doesn't matter. At least I know that meatball swing percentage.
Read a book, Peter Pan.
Oh my
Hey.
god.
Either way, you're wrong. 0 for 2.
I'm actually not even mad about this because now that I know meatball, one of these nerds behind a computer, all the brains in the world, and they're going to call it meatball percentage.
Look
And
on,
honestly,
Mike Napoli
who-
leads the league in meatball percentage. Most Italian name in the league.
and also remember, let's let meatball. I mean, in the pro game, how many people describe an easy pitch as a meatball? We're not in third
It
grade.
should be called down the dick.
yeah, it's a
percentage.
pretty,
Absolutely.
it's a pretty subjective word too. Like, what is meatball to you? Like Mike Trout's meatball is not down the middle; it's right blowing in for him.
Everyone has different meatball. Turkey
That's
meatballs,
But it's a real thing. nonetheless.
bison.
All right, Cody's going for 3 for 3 and a shutout right now.
Let's go.
Hey, time out. Cody, you're up big right now. Don't swing 3-0 or I'm going to be mad at you.
Oh,
All right.
man, I hate it when my managers don't like me swinging 3-0.
I hate
Easy,
winning.
little Rusa. Revised zone rating, RZR, is the proportion of balls hit into a fielder's zone that he successfully converted into an out.
I'm going to say that's real. Well, maybe not the wording, but that stat definitely has
There's
to be
no
real.
shot he gave you 3 real stats.
It is real.
I'm still going to go with it. I'm going to say it's real.
It is real. It is a real.
Boom! Drop the mic.
I didn't
baby.
give him 3 real stats.
You're right.
Yeah, the
You're
last
right,
one was
you're right.
fake.
Yeah.
You're right. They were just so easy. Yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
Hey, Brooksy, this one's for pride, brother.
I'm a horseshit loser, by the way.
This one's for
No, I'm not even doing this because I already lost. I'm just kidding. Give it to me.
okay. Catching runs allowed, RA2W, defined by the number of runs above or below average a catcher is defensively, including framing and stolen base attempts. Catching runs allowed.
RA2W. Sounds like a Star Wars character.
It does sound like so.
I mean, you've given me all real ones that didn't sound real, but I'm gonna stick with my plan and my approach here and say that's bullshit.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, he got one.
Oh my God, I would have guessed real. That sounded like an all-encompassing catcher stat that might have been real. So I would have said real.
Hey, Cody, how was your R2D2 when you were behind the plate?
Oh, pretty damn good. But I'm only mad that Danny didn't say these are the droids you're looking for. It was right there. It was right there, Danny.
I will say there is an RA9W, which is the standard wins above replacement for pitchers, which takes into account runs allowed per 9 innings. So it's not actually that far-fetched. It's not a real thing for catchers.
I got a question. Do you think there's a stat for stat makers for like stats made per day?
Ooh, there should be.
There probably is. There's so many numbers out there that they've got to be changing numbers every day, especially like looking at baseball and where it's going in the gambling sphere. You got to assume that there is numbers on just about everything.
Everything, dude, because they want to find the easiest way to get consistent money.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't see where that's going, that whole gambling aspect of baseball, you guys just aren't paying attention. But I know you guys are because you guys have discussed it before.
Every sport is going Vegas. And that's why the A's are going to Vegas.
Absolutely, dude. That's been anyone that is pretending this sham going over to Portland. They're not looking at Portland. The Rio is going to be bulldozed over. That was decided a decade ago.
They should put it where the Golden Nugget is.
How dare you? Downtown Vegas is perfection. Do not touch Fremont.
You know what?
Street.
The A's can probably just play at the old Vegas Stadium, and it'd be just as good as the Coliseum.
By the way, I was just at the new Vegas Stadium last week, and I did play a series there in 2019. Have you seen that stadium?
Pictures only. It looks amazing.
It is off the charts, and there was an ongoing joke whenever somebody would get called up. I'm like, oh no, sent down to Oakland, huh?
Hey, you remember the old one, the big blue wall all the way around? It was like 900 feet to center
field. I had
field.
to play there in 17. I played at Cashman Field in 2017 when I was with the Mets organization, man. And I am one of the few defenders of Cashman Field, but it's because it's just so old and shitty that I can't help but like kind of appreciate it.
High school dugouts.
Yeah, horrible.
Like the concrete, like uneven concrete floors in the dugouts. Like,
and they're 40 yards away from home plate. So if you strike out, you got a long walk with a lot of fans yelling at you. It was just the dugouts weren't even dugouts. They were bunkers for like nuclear testing. And I'm not kidding. Like they were that ridiculous. I can't even describe it. When I describe it to people, they're like, oh, that's not real. No, I swear to God, that's real. And also the dirt came all the way up to your neck in the dugout, just outside. So we used to dig in and hide shit in the dirt. I think I have like 2 bats outside that dugout, just dug 6 feet into the ground.
Did you have Wally Backman?
I did not have Wally Backman.
He was one of my favorites.
Oh God, the things that Wally Backman used to say are ridiculous. But I will say, you were actually here for this, Will. In 2015, we had a pre-game set list, and the last thing we listened to was a clip of Wally Backman yelling at his team for like 40 minutes.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite YouTube clips of all time.
We all stood up, we all said it to each other, and right when it ends, just at the very last line, kick it in the ass, buddy. Go ahead and say whatever you got to say. And we all say it to each other. We all just take it out to the field. That was how we started every day.
He was the best, man. And he went through a pack and a half a game.
Easily. Easily.
If you're wondering what minor league baseball is, listen to this show. I mean, this was perfect between Brooksy and Cody. I mean, this is as good as it gets, man.
Cody, I just want you to know the interview's over, and you got the job. You can be our third host.
Yeah.
Oh well, why not? Let's do it. I mean,
Danny pays
Layup.
well. All right.
Danny, I'm not cheap.
Am I getting booted on my own show right now? Are you like replacing
No,
me?
no. We're a third. He's a third.
Okay.
Like a Free Amigos, like a triad.
I love it.
Tripod.
Wait.
Hey, go check out Cody's YouTube page, Twitter page. He may or may not make my bracket this year. We will discuss it. Cody Decker, man, join us on the RAKE Pod. Thanks so much, Cody. Appreciate it.
Hey guys,
Cody.
thanks for having me. You guys are the best.